I never expected my life to turn into a twisted soap opera, but there I was, standing in the doorway, watching my world shatter. The dim lights of the home gym cast long shadows across the walls. Sweat glistened on her skin, her toned body stretching in ways that had once driven me crazy. But now, all I saw was betrayal. Her name is Jessica. My wife of 10 years. The woman I built my life around. And there she was, laughing, flushed, pressing herself against some gym rat like a desperate teenager. That bastard groped my cheating wife, his hand shamelessly on her ass, massaging her most intimate areas, and saying, "Baby, I can show you a few more great exercises. After them, you'll be begging me to do it with you again and again." A red haze clouded my vision. In half a second, I was next to him. Without hesitation, I grabbed his arm and snapped it like a twig. The sickening crack echoed through the room, his scream following a second later. His knees buckled, his face twisted in agony. Jessica shrieked, backing away, hands covering her mouth. But I wasn't done. As the guy fell, I slammed my foot onto his groin and growled, "Now let me show you an exercise, one that will ensure you'll never be a real man again." He choked out a broken gasp, curling into himself. Jessica recovered from her shock and lunged at me. "Are you insane, Mark? What the hell is wrong with you?" I turned to her, eyes burning. "Are you seriously asking me that? You're screwing around with some gym trash in our house, and I'm the problem?" Her expression shifted instantly. Crocodile tears welled up in her eyes, her lips trembling. "Mark, it's not what it looks like." I let out a sharp laugh, a sound so bitter it burned my throat. "Oh, really? Because from where I'm standing, it looks like you were letting this loser paw at you like some cheap fling." She shook her head furiously. "I was just training. It got out of hand, I swear." The audacity. The sheer gall of this woman to stand there and gaslight me when the evidence was literally writhing on the floor, clutching his broken arm. My fists clenched, but I refused to let her manipulate me. "Cut the crap, Jessica. How long has this been going on?" Her eyes darted away for a second, 1 second too long. That was all the confirmation I needed. "You disgust me," I spat. And just like that, everything I thought we had, our marriage, our trust, our life, crumbled like ashes in my hands. Jessica's face twisted, but not with guilt. No, that would have been too easy. Instead, her expression hardened, her crocodile tears drying up in an instant. "Oh, grow up, Mark," she snapped, rolling her eyes. "You're acting like a damn caveman. It was just a little fun." Fun? I felt something deep in my gut snap, like a dam breaking under the weight of an unstoppable flood. My breathing slowed. My hands curled into fists so tight my knuckles went white. I had expected her to deny it, maybe even fake an apology. But this? This was something else. She wasn't sorry. She wasn't ashamed. She wasn't even afraid. She was mocking me. The bastard on the floor groaned, clutching his broken arm. I barely even looked at him, he wasn't my problem anymore. My problem was standing right in front of me, smirking like this was all some kind of joke. A little fun? My voice was eerily calm, even to my own ears. "That's what you call this?" She scoffed. "Oh, don't be so dramatic. We've been married for 10 years, Mark. Things get boring." "What, you thought I was just going to spend the rest of my life doing the same routine with you?" "Please." Every word hit like a bullet. This was the woman I had loved. The woman I had fought for. The woman I had built a life with. And here she was, tossing it all aside like garbage. I took a slow step toward her, and for the first time, I saw something flicker in her eyes, something close to hesitation. "How long?" I asked, my voice as cold as steel. Jessica crossed her arms, tilting her head. Does it really matter? I let out a bitter laugh. You know what? You're right. It doesn't. I turned on my heel and walked toward the bedroom. Behind me, she scoffed again. Oh, what now? You're gonna go cry into a pillow? I ignored her. I didn't have time for her games anymore. Inside the bedroom, I grabbed a duffel bag from the closet and started throwing in clothes, my mind working at 1,000 miles per hour. My heart was pounding, but not from sadness. Not from heartbreak. From rage. From clarity. I had spent years thinking we were in this together. That we had something real. I had sacrificed for her, worked my ass off to give her the life she wanted. And the whole time, she had been laughing behind my back. No more. I zipped up the bag and headed for the door. As soon as I stepped back into the hallway, Jessica was there, leaning against the wall with her arms crossed, watching me like a cat watching a wounded bird. Oh, come on, Mark. Don't be so predictable. She smirked. Where are you even gonna go? I stopped right in front of her and looked her dead in the eyes. Anywhere but here. Her smirk faltered. Just a little. You're seriously leaving over this? I shook my head, laughing under my breath. No, Jessica. I'm not leaving because of this. I'm leaving because you're a lying, selfish, manipulative piece of trash. And I finally see you for what you really are. For the first time since I walked in on her and her little gym buddy, she didn't have a snarky comeback. Good. I pushed past her and headed for the front door. I could hear her footsteps following behind me, quicker now, almost desperate. Mark, wait. I paused, my hand on the doorknob. And then she said it. You're not actually leaving me. Not a question. A statement. That was the moment I realized she truly believed she had won. That no matter what she did, no matter how much she disrespected me, she thought I would always come back. I turned around slowly. You really think I won't? Jessica smirked again, tilting her head. Oh, please. Where else would you go? You need me. I stepped forward, lowering my voice. Let me make something very clear to you, Jess. I would rather sleep on a park bench than spend one more night in this house with you. Her smile dropped. I pulled open the door, stepping into the night. The air was cool, crisp. It smelled like freedom. Before I shut the door behind me, I turned back one last time. Oh, and by the way? She blinked. I smirked. Good luck explaining your boyfriend's broken arm to the cops. And with that, I walked away without looking back. The night air hit me like a splash of ice water. My mind was still racing, my heart pounding against my ribs like a war drum. I had left. I had actually walked out that door, left Jessica standing there, her smirk wiped clean off her face. But as I threw my duffel bag into the back seat of my car, reality started settling in. I had nowhere to go. My house, no, scratch that, our house, was no longer mine. I sure as hell wasn't about to check into some cheap motel like some washed-up loser licking his wounds. And calling a friend? Not an option. The last thing I needed was sympathy or, worse, pity. I climbed into the driver's seat, gripping the wheel so tight my knuckles cracked. My phone buzzed in my pocket. I didn't even need to check the screen to know who it was. Jessica. I let it ring. And ring. And ring. Then came the text messages. Jessica, Mark, don't be an idiot. Come back inside. Jessica, you really think leaving is gonna change anything? Jessica, fine. Be a child. Run away. You'll be crawling back. Crawling back? I clenched my jaw, tossed my phone onto the passenger seat, and started the car. I didn't know where I was going, but I sure as hell knew I wasn't crawling anywhere. I drove for hours. Past the city limits. Past the familiar streets where Jessica and I used to go on late-night drives. Past everything that reminded me of the life I thought I had. Somewhere around 2 a.m., I pulled into a gas station, my tank running low, just like my patience. The moment I stepped out of the car, I noticed something off. A black SUV. Parked 2 spaces away. The engine was running, headlights off. I might have ignored it, until my phone buzzed again. Jessica, by the way, you forgot something. Attached was a picture. My safe. The one I kept in my closet. Open. Empty. Every muscle in my body tensed. Inside that safe was over $10,000 in cash. Emergency money. Money she had no business touching. I turned, my eyes flicking toward the SUV. The moment I did, the headlights flashed on, blinding me for a split second before the tires screeched against the pavement. It peeled out of the lot, disappearing into the night. Jessica had sent someone to follow me. The realization sent a rush of adrenaline through my veins. I had known she was a liar. A cheat. But this? This was another level. I grabbed my phone and dialed her number. She picked up after 2 rings. What the hell did you do? I growled. She laughed. Relax, Mark. I just needed to make sure you weren't gonna do anything stupid. I gritted my teeth. You stole my money, Jessica. Oh, our money, she corrected, her voice sickeningly sweet. Yeah, I took it. Consider it payment for breaking my trainer's arm. Do you know how much hospital bills cost? I nearly saw red. You think this is funny? I think it's pathetic, she said, sighing dramatically. You stormed out like some action hero, and now what? You're at a gas station in the middle of nowhere, probably wondering where it all went wrong. I stayed silent. You should just come back, she continued. We both know you won't survive without me. I clenched my jaw, gripping my phone so tight I thought it might snap in half. Then I took a deep breath and did the only thing that made sense. I laughed. It was low at first, but then it grew, filling the dead air between us. Wow, Jessica. You really don't get it, do you? She hesitated. What? I left because I finally saw you for what you really are. And you know what? I should have seen it years ago. Silence. I smirked. Enjoy the money while you can, sweetheart. Because you just made your last mistake. I hung up before she could answer. Then, I made a call. Not to a lawyer. Not to a friend. To someone Jessica had forgotten about. Someone she should have never crossed. The moment the line clicked, a deep voice answered. Mark? Didn't expect to hear from you. I took a breath, my pulse steady now. I need a favor, Tom. A pause. Then a low chuckle. Oh, this is gonna be good. I grinned. Oh, it's gonna be great. And just like that, the real game began. Tom wasn't just some old friend. He was the kind of guy you called when things went sideways, when the law wouldn't help, when morality was just an obstacle. He and I had history, the kind we never talked about. What's the favor? He asked, his voice calm but laced with curiosity. I stared at my reflection in the gas station window. I looked like a man on the edge, a man who had lost everything. But I wasn't broken. Not yet. Jessica stole from me, I said, my voice steady. She thinks she's won. I need to remind her who the hell she's messing with. Tom chuckled. You always did have a soft spot for vengeance. I don't want her hurt, I clarified. But I want her to feel it. I want her to know she screwed with the wrong man. There was a pause on the other end, then a sharp inhale. Alright. I'll make some calls. I hung up, the weight on my shoulders feeling lighter for the first time that night. I pulled into a cheap motel an hour later, paid cash, and locked the door behind me. Sleep wasn't an option, not when my mind was wired with adrenaline, playing and replaying every moment of Jessica's betrayal. The way she smirked. The way she belittled me. The way she stole from me and had the audacity to act like I was the idiot. I grabbed my phone and scrolled through old photos. Happier times. Vacations. Anniversaries. Late nights on the couch watching bad movies. It was all a lie, wasn't it? A notification popped up. Jessica, you'll regret this. I stared at the words, my grip tightening around the phone. She still thought she had control. That was the thing about people like Jessica, they never believed the consequences would reach them. I smirked. Let's change that. Morning came too soon. I hadn't slept, but it didn't matter. I had things to do. I met Tom at a diner outside town. He was already at a booth, stirring a cup of coffee like he didn't have a care in the world. I slid into the seat across from him. Tell me you have something. He grinned. Oh, buddy, I've got something all right. He pulled out his phone and slid it across the table. I picked it up and hit play. The screen showed Jessica. Sitting in a high-end bar, drinking martinis with another man, not her gym rat, but someone else. Someone older, in a suit, with the air of a man who was used to getting what he wanted. The audio crackled. Jessica, Mark? Oh, please. He's nothing. Just a boring husband who thought he could control me. My jaw tightened. The man leaned in. So, he's out of the picture? Jessica smirked. Completely. He thinks he's taking some kind of moral stand, but he'll be back. Or he won't. Either way, I got what I needed. I exhaled slowly, a cold, sharp rage settling in my chest. I set the phone down. Who's the guy? Tom took a sip of coffee. That's Ryan Caldwell. Corporate lawyer. Married. Dirty as they come. He and Jessica have been seeing each other for a while. I nodded, my mind already working. I want him ruined. Tom grinned. That's what I like to hear. That night, I sat in my car outside Ryan's office, watching him through the window as he worked late. I had spent all day digging. And what I found? Let's just say Ryan Caldwell had a lot to lose. A mistress was the least of his problems. I dialed his office number. He answered on the third ring. Ryan Caldwell speaking. I smiled. Hey, Ryan. We need to talk. Silence. Then, who is this? I'm the husband of the woman you've been screwing. A sharp inhale. I think you have the wrong number. No, I don't, I cut him off. And unless you want your wife, your boss, and the IRS to find out exactly what you've been up to, you're going to listen very carefully. Silence. Then, in a much smaller voice, what do you want? I leaned back, smirking. I want you to drop Jessica. Completely. No more meetings. No more gifts. No more secret rendezvous. You disappear from her life starting now. He exhaled shakily. Fine. Fine. I'll end it. Good. Now, about my money. Ryan stammered. What? Jessica stole 10 grand from me, I said. And I'm guessing some of it was spent on you. So you're going to reimburse me. In cash. By tomorrow. More silence. Then, you can't be serious. I chuckled. Oh, I'm deadly serious, Ryan. You have 24 hours. I hung up before he could argue. Then I sat back, taking a deep breath. Jessica thought she was untouchable. She was about to learn just how wrong she was. The next morning, I woke to the sound of my phone buzzing like a damn chainsaw. I groaned, rubbing my eyes, but when I saw the caller ID, I smirked. Ryan Caldwell. I let it ring twice before answering. Morning, sunshine. Got my money? His voice was tight, panicked. I have it, okay? But you need to understand, Jessica's crazy. She won't let this go. I chuckled. Oh, I'm counting on that. What the hell does that mean? He asked. It means I'm not just here to get my money back, Ryan. I leaned back against the motel headboard, my smirk widening. I'm here to make sure Jessica loses. Silence. Then, in a hushed voice, Jesus Christ. What did she do to you? She made me see the truth. Ryan sighed. Fine. Where do you want to meet? We met at a small cafe on the outskirts of town. The kind of place where no one asks questions, where men like Ryan come to disappear when their mistakes catch up with them. He was already there when I walked in, a nervous wreck in a suit, hands shaking as he shoved a thick envelope across the table. 10 grand. Every dollar. I picked it up, weighing it in my hand. Smart choice. He swallowed. So we're done? I smiled. Not quite. His face paled. I pulled out my phone and tapped the screen. Recognize this? His eyes darted to the video, the one of him and Jessica at the bar, whispering about how I was nothing. His breath hitched. Where did you get that? Doesn't matter. I pocketed my phone. What matters is what I do with it. He leaned forward. You can't show this to my wife, man. You'll ruin me. I sipped my coffee, letting him sweat. See, Ryan, that's exactly what Jessica said about me. He ran a hand through his hair. Look, I'll do whatever you want, just don't blow up my life. I smirked. Then let's make a deal. That night, I sat outside my old house, Jessica's house now. I watched the lights flicker on and off, shadows moving behind the curtains. Then my phone buzzed. Ryan, done. I grinned. Showtime. Inside, I knew Jessica was preparing for another night of feeling untouchable. But she had no idea what was about to hit her. A minute later, headlights appeared down the street. A sleek black car. Ryan's wife. I leaned back, watching the fireworks begin. She stormed up to the front door and pounded on it. A moment later, Jessica answered. And then, boom. Ryan's wife slapped Jessica so hard I heard it from my car. I chuckled. That's for calling me nothing, sweetheart. The yelling began, sharp and vicious, cutting through the night. Jessica tried to defend herself, but it was no use. The video had done its job. Ryan had dumped her. Her stolen money? Gone. Her little affair? Exposed. And soon, she'd have nothing left. I watched for a while, enjoying the chaos. Then, just as I was about to leave, my phone rang. Jessica. I let it ring. Then, at the last second, I answered. Her voice was venom. You did this. I smirked. What's wrong, Jess? Thought you were untouchable? She screamed through the phone. You son of a... I hung up. Then, without a second glance, I drove away, leaving her to drown in the mess she created. I drove away from the wreckage I left behind, gripping the wheel like it was the only thing keeping me tethered to reality. Jessica's world was crumbling, and damn, did it feel good to watch. But I wasn't done. Not yet. My phone buzzed again. Tom, got more for you. You'll love this. I smirked. If Tom had more, it meant Jessica had even deeper secrets buried beneath her designer clothes and fake innocence. I pulled into a 24-hour diner and parked in the back, away from the prying eyes of whatever goons she might have left. Sliding into a booth, I barely had time to settle in before Tom strutted through the door, dropping a folder onto the table like it was a bag of stolen diamonds. "Tell me something good," I said, flipping it open. Tom grinned. "Oh, it's better than good. It's perfect." Inside the folder were documents, bank statements, wire transfers, fake business expenses. Jessica hadn't just stolen my 10 grand. She had been laundering money for months, using my name as a front for transactions that reeked of fraud. I let out a low whistle. "Damn. She's dumber than I thought." Tom chuckled. "Oh, buddy, it gets worse." He slid me another paper, a legal document with my forged signature at the bottom. "A loan. For $50,000. Taken out in my name." I went still. My pulse slowed. The air in the room felt thick, heavy. Jessica hadn't just cheated. She hadn't just humiliated me. She had set me up to take the fall for her crimes. Tom watched my face carefully. "So, what's next?" I exhaled slowly, a dark smile creeping across my face. "It's time Jessica learns what real consequences feel like." I waited until midnight. Jessica was a creature of habit. Every Thursday night, she met up with her girls for drinks, coming home just past 1. She never paid attention to her surroundings, too caught up in her own self-importance. That worked for me. I parked 2 blocks from the house, walking the rest of the way. The security cameras? Disabled. I knew their system, I had installed it myself. Breaking in was easy. Too easy. I moved through the house like a shadow, memories pressing in on me from all sides. The wedding photo still hung in the hallway. My old book still sat on the shelf. But none of it mattered now. This wasn't my home anymore. I went straight to Jessica's office. Her laptop was open. Sloppy. Arrogant. I plugged in a flash drive, letting my software do its job, copying everything. Bank records. Emails. Hidden messages between her and Ryan. Then I did the one thing I knew would send her over the edge. I deleted everything from her laptop. Years of scheming, gone in seconds. By the time I was finished, the house was exactly as I left it, except for one thing. On the desk, I left a single note. "You should have chosen a different victim." Then I slipped out the way I came, disappearing into the night. The next morning, the screaming started. Jessica blew up my phone with 37 missed calls. Each voicemail more hysterical than the last. Then came the texts. "Jessica, where is my stuff? Jessica, you think this is funny? Jessica, I swear to God, Mark, I'll destroy you." I ignored them all. Instead, I made my own call. To the bank. To the police. To her boss. By noon, Jessica's accounts were flagged. By 2, the authorities had copies of every fraudulent transaction. By 5, she was fired. By 8, she was at my door. The pounding was relentless. I opened the door slowly, arms crossed. "You look like hell." Jessica stood there, hair a mess, eyes wild with fury. "What did you do?" I tilted my head. "You mean, what did you do?" She lunged at me, shoving my chest, but I didn't move. She wasn't worth the effort. "You ruined me," she shrieked. "I lost my job. My accounts are locked. The cops are asking questions." I smirked. "Wow. Sounds like a real problem." Her face twisted with rage. "You think you won? You think this is over?" I leaned in, my voice a whisper. "Oh, Jess. It was over the second you betrayed me. Her nostrils flared. I could see it in her eyes, she knew she had lost. Then, for the first time in her life, she begged. Mark, please. We can fix this. I laughed. No, you can fix this. And you'll do it from far away. She blinked. What? I pulled a one-way plane ticket from my pocket. You leave tonight. You don't come back. You don't contact me again. You disappear, Jessica. Or the next time I make a call, it won't be to your boss, it'll be to the FBI. Her mouth opened and closed, but no words came out. She looked at the ticket. At me. And she knew. I had one. Without another word, she snatched the ticket and walked away, defeated. I shut the door, exhaling slowly. And just like that, I was finally free. I sat in my chair, exhaling slowly. The silence of my apartment wrapped around me, a stark contrast to the chaos I had just orchestrated. Jessica was gone. By now, she was either on a flight to nowhere or sitting somewhere, plotting her next move. It didn't matter. She had lost. Or so I thought. My phone buzzed. A blocked number. I hesitated for a second before answering. Yeah? A familiar voice slithered through the speaker. You really think I'd go down that easy? Jessica. I gritted my teeth. You just don't know when to quit, do you? She laughed, low and mocking. Oh, Mark. I was never going to run away. You should know me better than that. My stomach twisted, but I kept my voice even. What do you want, Jessica? To watch you suffer. The call cut off. A chill ran down my spine. Then, a knock at the door. I froze. It was almost midnight. Slowly, I stood and moved toward the peephole. Nothing. The hallway was empty. Then, another knock. This time, lower. Closer to the ground. I reached for the baseball bat I kept by the door and slowly unlocked it, yanking it open. There, on my welcome mat, sat a small black box. I looked left, then right. No one. Carefully, I nudged the box with my foot. Nothing happened. No ticking. No wires. Just a plain, unmarked box. But when I crouched down and flipped open the lid, my blood ran cold. Inside was a USB drive and a single Polaroid. I picked up the photo with numb fingers. It was me, sleeping. In my own bed. I bolted inside and locked the door. My mind raced. How the hell had she gotten in? I checked every lock before bed. I would have heard something. Unless. I grabbed my phone and called Tom. He picked up on the first ring. What's up? Jessica got into my apartment. Silence. Then, that's impossible. I clenched my jaw. Tell that to the picture she just left me. Tom cursed under his breath. She's playing mind games, man. Don't let her get in your head. Too late. I stared at the USB drive. This was a message. A challenge. Jessica wasn't just running. She was retaliating. And I had no idea what was on this drive. I took a deep breath and plugged it into my laptop. A single video file appeared. I clicked it. At first, the screen was black. Then, grainy security footage flickered on. A hotel hallway. A room door opening. Jessica stepping out, smiling. And behind her, a man. Not Ryan. Someone else. Someone I didn't recognize. They laughed, whispered. Then the man handed her an envelope. Jessica peeked inside and smiled. Then, she leaned in, kissed his cheek, and whispered something before disappearing down the hall. The man turned toward the camera. For a brief second, I saw his face. And my stomach dropped. Because I did recognize him. Detective Evan Carter. My hands clenched into fists. Detective Carter. The same cop who had investigated my claims about Jessica's fraud. The one who conveniently found nothing. She was working with him. I exhaled, forcing my rage down. This changed everything. Jessica wasn't just some cheating wife with a habit of stealing money, she had the police in her pocket. Tom's voice crackled through the speaker. "You still there?" "Yeah," I muttered. "What was on the drive?" I smirked. "Proof that I need to end this. For good." I didn't sleep. By morning, I had a plan. Step 1, make Jessica think she was winning. Step 2, rip everything away from her. For that, I needed leverage. And I knew exactly where to get it. By noon, I was standing outside Carter's house. A suburban fortress, complete with a manicured lawn and the kind of mailbox that screamed respectable citizen. Too bad I knew the truth. I walked up to the front door and knocked. Footsteps. Then Carter's face appeared, all smug confidence, until he saw me. His smirk faltered. "Mark. Didn't expect you." I grinned. "Yeah, I figured. Can I come in?" He hesitated. I leaned in. "Or should we talk about your little business with Jessica right here on your doorstep?" His face went pale. "Come in." The moment the door shut, I dropped the act. "Listen closely, Carter, because I'm only going to say this once." I pulled my phone out and played the video from the USB. His face turned to pure panic. "Where did you get that?" he hissed. I leaned against the counter. "Doesn't matter. What matters is that you're going to help me bury Jessica." His jaw clenched. "And if I don't?" I smirked. "Then your wife, your boss, and every reporter in this city gets a copy of this footage. Along with a nice little tip about how you cover up fraud cases in exchange for cash." Silence. Then, after a long pause, he sighed. "What do you want?" "Everything." And just like that, I had the final piece I needed. Jessica thought she could outplay me. But she never realized. I was always 10 steps ahead. And now? It was time to end her. For good.